Hello YouTube! Today I'm going to be talking about Elite Dangerous version 2.1, the Engineers, or as many people have taken to calling it, the RNGineers, and kind of my thoughts and impressions about this patch. I know I'm late to the party, as it's been basically about 2 months ago since this patch was released to the community as a whole, and it was in beta testing a month before that. And the reason why this is so late is I've just not had time to sit down and play Elite Dangerous. It has nothing to do with whether or not I like the patch or dislike the patch, and had everything to do with real life over the course of the past 2 months. Now, if you want to check out for more details on what's been going on in my life, you can go check the channel update video. I'm not going to rehash it here. First off, I'm going to start out with a few things that I like. And overall, I have to say that I like the 2.1 patch and many of the aspects that they added to the game, starting with space traffic control. I love the fact that when I pull into a station now, I'm greeted by somebody there reminding me to request docking clearance, which, if you're tired or have been doing it for a while, is very, very handy, so you don't accidentally fly in and get a bunch of fines and stuff like that, or blown up. And it's also nice to hear them call you out by your ship's manufacturer, as well as the first 3 letters, or at least the phonetic alphabet of the first 3 letters of your commander name. So it's great if I'm flying my Anaconda to pull up to a station and hear Falcon de Lacy, Sierra Kilo Uniform Heavy, cleared to land, landing pad 3-2. I love that. Not only that, but there's also background radio chatter around stations as well. And it really put a breath of life into the universe that the game was lacking up until this point. I just hope they follow this up in subsequent patches from here on out and start adding this type of radio chatter and communications with voiceovers to more things in the game, whether you're being interdicted by pirates, whether or not you come across a wedding barge or a convoy, or around combat zones, things of that nature. I hope they start to really flesh these things out. And Frontier being Frontier, they probably will over subsequent patches. So that is the first item that I was very pleased to see. Second off is the overhaul to the combat AI systems. Elite Anacondas and Deadly Pythons now live up to their name. In fact, the game now lives up to its name. I don't care if you're playing in solo mode, co-op mode, or open play. It is now dangerous out there, and it's really interesting to watch the cadre of people complain about it, because many of the people complaining about how difficult the AI are now were the same ones complaining about how it was too easy to shoot fish in a barrel and how bounty hunters had it too easy and things of that nature. And basically what it boils down to is a lot of people don't like the fact that their min-max builds just got basically BFTO'd out of the game. You no longer can leave space dock in an Anaconda with a size 3D shield and expect to make it to your destination in one piece. You get interdicted a couple of times and you are dead. I dare not leave space dock without my size 7 bi-weave shield generator. I also have gone to equipping an auto field maintenance unit, as the AI with railguns have shown a propensity to be able to knock out subsystems relatively easily, including thrusters. So these are all changes that I personally am glad, because it's taken it from Elite Care Bear to living up to its name of Elite Dangerous. I know there are other people out there that don't feel that way, and I'm sorry, but this is how difficult the game should have been a long time ago, and not lulled you into a false sense of security and, oh, I can take on the world. No, you really can't. And I think in a lot of people's cases, it's their own ego getting in the way. As the song The Gambler says, you got to know when to hold 'em, know when to fold 'em, know when to walk away, and know when to run. So next up are the nav beacons and changes to the Discovery Scanner mechanics, and also in these latest patches now the fact that if you scan a planet with a planetary scanner, or if you go to one that's already been discovered, it will tell you what materials are found on that planet and at what ratios. So if you're searching for some of the rare elements in order to complete the engineer section and upgrades and things like that, you can get an idea of where you need to go in surrounding systems or in that system to collect the materials you need in order to basically spin the wheel for that upgrade. As part of this also, there's a reason to carry a discovery scanner with you, even if you're trotting around the bubble, as it were, of inhabited space. and that is to complete certain mission quests. Now, if you need to search for, say, black boxes or rebel communications or anything like that, you have two options. If you don't have a discovery scanner, and let's say you go to a new system for the first time and you don't have data on it, you can stop by the nav beacon, scan the nav beacon, and it will tell you where all the stations and planets and other things are in that system, including where you need to go to complete your mission objective. Or if you're carrying an advanced discovery scanner, you can simply honk your horn and get that same data. Either way, it now gives a purpose for the nav beacons to actually be there and for people to actually use them, as well as, again, it gets away a little bit from the min-max builds where carrying a discovery scanner around with you, and let's say if you're flying an Anaconda, as I currently do, and the 2 slot, it makes a lot of sense to do so now, and it's just not for exploration anymore. Next up is the redesigned mission system. And I will say it's not so much redesigned as iterated upon, and it is improved. They still have a little ways to go. I would still like to see a lot more branching story arcs and mission arcs that are possible for the mission generation system to choose from. And they need to address a couple of long-standing bugs. One of them being now, if, let's say you're doing a data delivery mission, and sometimes it'll pop up and say, hey, if you can deliver it in the next 13 minutes, you get an extra 30,000 credits, which is great. Only over half the time it pops up and says, you can deliver it in the next 0 minutes. Well, that doesn't work. So that, in my book, is a bug that needs to be addressed, and I don't think it still has been addressed in the latest patches. Sooner rather than later. Hopefully in 2.2, they fix it to where if it does give you a change in mission priorities, either going to a different system or different station or deliver an X number of minutes, that it gives you at least a minimum of, say, 5 or 6 minutes and maybe a maximum of 20 minutes in order to complete that objective, and then it just basically chooses a random number between those two values. That would be my ideal way. It would probably be the simplest way of fixing it, at least from a design perspective. Coding perspective, don't know. I, of course, am not familiar with the back-end code and Cobra and all of that, but I'm assuming they have a random math function in there somewhere. And if they can do that, that would be great. Now, the new mission selection screen is great. The fact that you have to build up reputation with minor factions is great. The change of locking certain missions behind your faction rep or minor faction rep as opposed to your rank, I enjoy also. Now you can take on elite missions, either combat or trading or something like that, and still be a tycoon or dangerous or deadly in your rank. You're no longer bound by your rank. It's just what is your relationship with that minor faction. And it does kind of give you a little bit of an incentive to build up kind of a home system or two, build up rep with certain elements of certain factions in order to then get these better missions. And I've been doing a lot of the long-range trading missions, which was a couple of hours of going back and forth between Ceos and Slothis, or Sothis, or however it's pronounced, doing trade or the data delivery missions back and forth, and then once I built up enough rep, we're able to get missions to haul bio waste, and I think hydrogen's the other major thing, from those stations to planets about 400 light years away. Was able to stack usually several missions together, and as a result, on a single trip, takes about an hour, make about 25 million, and then about another 15 minutes back to Ceos or Slothis. So I've enjoyed doing that. I've enjoyed building up quite a bit of currency in even just a few hours that I have been able to play. And like I said, overall, I like where the mission system is today compared to where it was pre-2.1. I'm not going to say that it's perfect. It certainly needs more improvement, but it's a step in the right direction, and I think it is a major step in the right direction. Now, some people don't like the fact that you have to grind rep with all of these minor factions, because what if you're only going to be at a station once? Again, it kind of, I don't want to say forces, but encourages players to stay in certain areas and kind of build up rep up at least to the point where you're allied with the sub-factions and stuff like that, and then maybe you move on to somewhere else to get a little bit of a different change of scenery, depending on what it is that you want to do. So now I guess we're on to the elephant in the room, and that is the engineers, or the RNGineers, the RNG, or random number generator engineers, if you want to call them that. And this has to go back to how the patch was tested. This was a failure in testing. And why I say that is during the beta test, in order to expedite to find out if the modules are functioning as intended when put before a massive player base, or at least a significant portion of the player base, enough to judge what was and was not broken from a game mechanic standpoint, they made everything cost fish. So while we were able to test the mechanics of the engineering modules themselves, nobody was able to really test the time and grind it would take to acquire the materials in order to undergo or undertake attempts at getting those modules and upgrades to tweaked to where people would want them. And I really don't like how the random number generator system of it really works. It is just way too arbitrary for what I would like to see as far as being able to craft items and things of that go. The easy way that I could see, at least from my perspective, to fix the engineers and that problem is to open it up to where you have tiers of materials. And it kind of does this already with the crafting system that was introduced in 2.0, where you could craft weapons, ammunition, auto field maintenance, where you'd have good, better, best, hull repair with, good, better, best. And the engineers should be the same system. You can either go in with a larger amount of common materials, which gives you a greater variance for negative impacts as well as positive impacts, and you get more rolls of the dice, essentially. Or you can go in with maybe, instead of common materials, rare materials, and you get a greater chance of a positive outcome than a negative outcome with fewer rolls, obviously. And then if you go in with the rarest tier of materials for a particular upgrade, it gives you the best chance of maybe a slight negative chance, but mostly positive outcome. So I think that that's how that system should work. If you take the time to get the better materials, the greater the chance that you're going to get a positive outcome from rolling the dice. Whereas if you use more common materials, you're going to get a significantly greater chance of negatives applied to that upgrade, but you're going to get more rolls of the dice. I think that that is how that mechanic needs to be balanced. As far as people complaining about the time and grind efforts needed to do so, hey, they have given us the fact that we can now tell planetary concentration of minerals and things like that. Either if it's an already known system, if you go to the system map, it'll be there. Or if you have a discovery scanner, I think actually you need a planetary scanner or a surface scanner. If you scan the planet, if you're, say, out exploring or something like that, it'll tell you what's on the surface there. I really wish we would have had that for the Great Expedition or the Distant Worlds Expedition, because it would have been nice to be able to land on some of these planets, because I need germanium or something else in order to do FSD boosts. And it would be very, very handy to discover these things and find them out there in the depths of space if you're on the exploration track of things, or you're just doing exploration because that's what you want to do. So those are basically my thoughts on the engineers. I'm going to follow this video up pretty quickly here with a second video discussing 2.2 and what I hope to see there, including subsequent versions from there on out. And we should be finding out here in about a week or so, because I have a feeling that most of the announcements for what will be coming next in Elite Dangerous will happen at Gamescom. No, this has been a little bit of a long video. I'm kind of back from summer hiatus, and I will be doing more content videos on Elite Dangerous, Star Citizen, Flight Sims, and probably branching off into a few other games that are probably mostly space or flight related. So if you have any thoughts and suggestions there, be sure to leave them in the comments section below, like, subscribe, all of those fun things. And until next time, take care.